luckily for me, during the time that I joined the armed forces, there was quite a lot going on. So I got the opportunity to go on tour, different places, do a lot of adventure training, like I say, walking through the Grand Canyon, going to Canada, doing kayaking and skiing and riding screws round and all this amazing stuff. Whereas if I'd not joined the army, I might still be working in a factory in Airdrock driving a forklift truck. Who knows? So it gave me an amazing opportunity. Then obviously 2009, I went over to Afghan. Sent on a routine foot patrol. I was section commander. So me and my 7 guys went down the left camp at 4:30 in the morning. I had another section of 8 guys on some high ground watching where I was going. Another section of 8 guys about 300 metres on the same track that I was on. So I remember us walking down the road. It was about 17, 18 degrees, got a little bit cooler in October time. I remember after about 10 minutes of going down the road, there's some car there, a red car, the bonnet was open, and there's a guy stood next to the car. So I remember looking, that's a bit suspicious. So I spoke to the interpreter, asked him to ask the guy what was going on. So the guy shouted over to the interpreter, asked him what was going on, shouted back to him, said, oh, his car's overheated. I said, right, fine. He said, tell him to move away from his vehicle. He looked suspicious, stood next to it, so he moved away from his vehicle. And I think that's why it's very important, actually, why these Afghan interpreters have now got the right to come live over here in this country, because they have saved thousands of lives. And I know ABF, the Soldiers Charity, support them guys when they come over here, because they did an amazing job over there. So then we carried on patrolling along. There's some guy herding some goats about. I don't know if you've been in any goats, but they stink. So we give him a wide berth. And then we got to the top of this road, and there's some barbed wire across the road. So Jamie stopped the guy in front of me with his metal detector. It's called a Valen. He said, Andy, there's a barbed wire here, pal. We're going to have to go in a different direction. So, quite Jamie, don't worry, take a knee, observe out to your front. Told the rest of the guys, get some water on board, observe their arcs. And I looked across the right-hand side, and there's these 3 tracks leading down towards the village. 2 tracks had no markings on whatsoever, and the 3rd track had some footprints on it, some cattle markings, and some motorbike tracks as well. So I looked around, looked at my watch. It was about 4 to 5 in the morning. So I know the local population goes to prayers at 5 in the morning. So 10 to 5, quarter to 5, people generally start walking round. At night time in October, it gets quite windy, and the tracks generally get blown over by the fresh sand. So I thought that track must have been used in the last 10, 15 minutes or so. So I said, right, Jamie, we're going to set off down the 3rd track there, pal. So Jamie stood up, got his kit on, got his metal detector again, started sweeping it from left to right, started going forward. I turned round, said, right, boys, get your kit on, follow me, let's go. Got on the radio, told them that was moving off. They're like, right, go left a bit, Jamie, go left a bit, mate, right a bit. Yeah, keep going down there, mate. So I'm looking around, seeing what's going on. Probably went about 3 or 4 metres forward, and then I stepped on the I.E.D device. So the next thing I was aware of, I was laying on the floor, on my back, big dust cloud all around me. I couldn't hear anything. All my mouth was full of dust and dirt. It was quite strange. I wasn't in any pain at the time. I felt like a sudden numbness throughout my body. Like when you bang your funny bone, but it's not very funny. But I knew something violent had happened to me. So I looked down. I couldn't see my legs at that stage. And straight away I started thinking self-help. I need some morphine, I need some tourniquets in my right hand pouch here. So I looked across this hand, that finger was hanging off. So I made a fist, kept hold of that finger. Looked across this arm, and it was twisted behind my back. So I knew I couldn't help myself at that stage. So I started shouting as loud as possibly could for the medic. It's quite lucky. Jamie got blown forward in the blast, took some shrapnel to his back and his behind. He started crawling back towards me, started giving me some morphine, started putting some tourniquets on my limbs. One of the guys from the other section come over. I could see him speaking to me, but I couldn't hear a word of what he was saying. But I knew the guys were there then. I knew the guys do the job that they're trained to do. So I kind of closed my eyes and drifted in and out of consciousness. So I spent about 3 days on critical care in a coma. They then decided that my vital statistics were quite strong. So they brought me out of this coma. And I remember waking up for the first time in like a very dimly lit room, crisp white walls everywhere. And there's some people standing over the bed. Now, I didn't know who these people were. So I started shouting and screaming at these people. So the doctor come rushing over, started calming me down, started explaining to me where I was. And as I began to focus, I seen who these people were. So my mum and dad was there, my stepmum, that's why I was probably screaming. And then my girlfriend was there on the other side of the bed. So the doctor started explaining to me what happened. So Andy, you lost your right leg below the knee, your left leg above the knee, and your right arm above the elbow. And I lay there and I thought, I'm survivor, not a victim. I thought, I'm still here. And unfortunately, Sergeant Valentine passed away on the patrol that I was on. Fusilier Bush passed away. I actually sent him forward to help Sergeant Valentine, and he stood on an I.E.D and lost his life. And 7 other guys from my regiment passed away on that tour. So I thought, I'm still here. So I'm going to start setting myself some goals and move myself forward. Unfortunately, because of the other guys who got injured and got killed and paid the ultimate sacrifice, I thought, out of respect for them, I've got to push on. I was lucky in some ways. I had no internal injuries. See a lot of guys who get injured, they lose limbs, but then they also break the back as well, or they might get an internal injury to one of the lungs or the stomach or something like that as well, so it takes them a bit longer to recover. For me, really, pretty much, I lost my limbs. They'd already taken them off before I'd woken up, so it's kind of like, well, it is what it is. I need to push on. So I started setting myself some goals. So I've been writing to my cousin Carl, and I said, Carl, I met this girl called Claire. I said, she's absolutely amazing. I said, when I come back from Afghan, I'm going to ask her to marry me. So when I lay there in that bed, I thought, there's no reason why that has to change. There's no reason why I still can't walk down the aisle with Claire. So I put that as the ultimate goal that I wanted to achieve. But it did come quite daunting. You know, I had my arms strapped up. I couldn't really do very much for myself at that stage. But so it was quite daunting. But I thought, actually, with the right mindset and the right people around me, I'll be able to get there. And then one of my friends come to see me the next day. He said, Andy, in July 2010, the Duke of Wellington's going to come to camp. Going to get the Operational Search Medal from the Duke of Wellington. All the mums and dads and wives and girlfriends and boys and girls are going to be there that day. It'll be an amazing day. But he said the regiment's going back to Afghan in October 2010. So I thought, if I can stand up that day out of my wheelchair, get my Operational Search Medal, maybe march off the parade ground, then all the mums and dads and wives and girls and boys and girls will know if their son, daughter or mum and dad gets injured, with hard work and determination, they can move their lives forward. So I said that as my middle term goal that I set myself. And then later on that afternoon, the doctor come walking round, remember, he had his white coat on, clipboard, that thing round his neck, what's it called, the stethoscope, what doctors wear. I've never actually seen a doctor use one of them. I think just walk around thinking they're cool with his stethoscope on. But anyway, he got to my bed, he said, Cotter Reid, you okay? I said, am I right, sir, yeah. I said, just a quick question though, so I'm just wondering, when can I go home for a weekend? And he said, what are you talking about? I said, I want to go home for a weekend, spend some time with my family. And he said, well, suppose when you get off your bed onto the wheelchair, out your wheelchair onto the floor, in case you fall out of it, and climb back in your wheelchair again, he said, we'll let you go home for a weekend. So I said, brilliant, I'll be going home on Friday. And he walked away shaking his head. And I thought, don't doubt me, pal, I'm from north, I'm double hard, right? But because he put a little bit of doubt in my mind, it made me more determined to want to prove him wrong. So that afternoon, I just got off the bed, climbed onto the wheelchair, drank loads of Lucozade, which is really bad for you, ate loads of grapes, I can't stand nowadays, then climbed back on the wheelchair again. And whilst I was doing that, I was listening to other guys telling their friends and family what had happened to him. And a lot of them was blaming somebody else. They were blaming the army, they were blaming the government, blaming the Taliban for the situation that they was in. And I lay there and I thought, ultimately, I've joined the army. So ultimately, the responsibility for what happened to me lies with myself. And by accepting that responsibility, that's how I've been able to move myself forward. There's no point me blaming Jamie for not finding the I.E.D with his metal detector, but it's not going to change what happened. It's not going to make Jamie feel very good about himself. So by accepting responsibility for my own actions, that's how I've been able to move on with my life. I think it's just about taking into account to actually how lucky you actually are. And I think sometimes we forget, don't we, how lucky we are in life sometimes. And I think if I don't want to wear my legs one day and be in my wheelchair, then I can do that and have a rest. My house has been adapted, again, you know, by the Army Benevolent Fund. They'll come in and put me a wet room in, could put me a new driveway in and things like that. So, you know, I can be in a wheelchair one day or I can be on my legs. I treat my wheelchair a bit like you probably treat like your slippers at home. So at the end of the day, you take your shoes off, put your slippers on. I take my legs off, jump in my wheelchair, fly around the house, have a rest. But if I'm out and about, I will generally have my legs on. Well, I think I've not left my house in my wheelchair, I don't think, for about 8 years, just because I've set myself this benchmark of being standing tall. And so that's what I kind of do. But it's not always the best thing, because sometimes I'm in a bit of pain, but I'll still put them on and get out and about, because it's, yeah, I don't know, it's just a mindset that I've got, I suppose. But yeah, it's tough sometimes, but then think actually life's here, life's for living, isn't it? And it nearly got taken away from me, and now I'm still here, so I'm going to embrace it and do the best I can every day. When I do get angry, I do get frustrated sometimes. You know, it is quite a tough gig, being a triple amputee, doing the small things that are frustrating, like trying to put toothpaste on your toothbrush without your toothbrush falling over. For some reason, people design toothbrushes with an arch in them, so they don't sit flat on the top surface. Or now Scarlett, like I say, 6, they're wearing winter uniform for school, so you've got to try and fasten the button on the blouse with the left hand without pinching the skin on the neck and then running off crying. You know, that can be quite tough. But what I've learned quite early on is to ask for help of people. No one's too big, too strong, too tough to ask for help and support. So nowadays, rather than pinch Scout's neck in the morning and she starts crying, I'll go to school in the morning, I'll take the school tie, and I'll ask one of the mums in the car park, can you do me a favour, can you put her tie on? Yeah, Andy, no problem at all. You know, asking people for help, it's quite a tough thing as a soldier because you're independent, you know, you're this tough guy and you're supposed to be able to do things by yourself and all that. So it takes quite a lot to change your mindset to actually say, I need some help nowadays. And I could struggle with things like, you know, trying to do that toothpaste thing or trying to fasten that or getting a bottle of water and biting the lid off. Not ideal, but actually, you buy a bottle of water from the shop and say to the guy, do me a favour, just open that, no problem, they'll open it for you. When you're on your way drinking your water, happy days. So it's about having a different kind of mindset, but it does take quite a lot to try and change that mindset from being a tough, independent soldier, as we're trained to do and do things for yourself, to actually ask for help and support by people. I think there's plenty of people out there, plenty of inspiring people out there that we can look at their story, look what journey they've been on, and we can take some strength from that. But the most important thing, really, I suppose, is having that support network around you. You know, and the ABF have been a massive support for me and for the family as well. Get Christmas cards, kids get birthday cards when it's the birthday. It's not just about me as the individual, it's about Claire as well and the children. So they look after the whole family unit, really. It's great to be able to do that and look at other people and just think, wow, look at that guy, look what he's achieving, look at that girl there, look what she's doing. You know, watching the Paralympics, it's like so inspiring watching these people and what they're achieving. You can take a bit of strength away from that. But also for me, it's great if I'm out and about, you know, taking my kids to school of a morning or I'm doing a motivational talk somewhere. If someone takes something away from that and then sends me a message next day, so Andy, your story was so inspiring, I was struggling a little bit, but now you talk about goal setting, so I've done this, this and this. That's amazing. That makes me get out of bed in the morning and keep doing what I'm doing. So it's kind of like a win-win situation, really. By setting yourself goals, or me setting myself goals and pushing myself forward, I know I'm inspiring other people, and then them send me a little message inspires me to carry on doing what I'm doing. So it's a great thing to be involved with.
An amazing story there from Andy. He was speaking to Telegraph reporter Jack Rear. You can read his full interview online and we'll also link to that in the show notes. Don, when you listen to Andy's story, that really brings home what the ABF does.
It does, and it highlights how this narrative of veterans being mad, bad and sad is entirely wrong and needs to be challenged and countered at every level. I mean, there's a guy who, through no fault of his own, finds himself on a very different path of life, and yet he's getting on with it, and he's now thinking beyond himself, and he's thinking what more can I do to help others. I mean, that is the story that I think veterans would want to get out. That there is the mad, bad, sad narrative needs to go. Veterans don't actively seek support generally, but once they do access support, if either put to it by friends and family and what have you, that's gratefully received, and then they'll just get on with their lives. They won't look for don't look for any extra hand up from the government or from society. They just want to be able to get on with whatever life path they now find themselves on. And I think, you know, Andy's story there typifies that.